Here's the thing, we all have 24 hours in a day. Elon Musk has 24 hours in a day, Oprah Winfrey has 24 hours in a day, you and I have 24 hours in a day. What is the differentiator between what somebody else accomplishes in those same 24 hours that you and I have that we don't accomplish, or maybe we accomplish more than that person? I found that time autonomy is the #1 differentiator from going from 6 figures to 7 figures, 7 figures to 8 figures, 8 figures to 9 figures, and beyond. You gotta be able to control your time. So I'm gonna give you 5 time hacks of how I control my time and how I've been able to utilize that to scale and build multiple 7 and 8 figure businesses and build a 9-figure real estate portfolio. So I got a question the other day on Facebook Messenger from a new Legacy Family Mastermind member, and he says, "Hey brother, I love that I'm in the fam and I've been loving all the content. Question, what are some things that you do in your day-to-day activities that help you stay on target with your goals? But like, what are some of the things I should put into my calendar in order to keep me on track?" And I love that question. Time management and time autonomy is the differentiator. That is the greatest single thing that you can master in order to scale your business and scale your happiness, scale your income, and all those things. You gotta be able to control your time. And so here are the top 5 things that I've done in order to be able to own multiple businesses, thousands of rental properties, and still have time for myself personally and for my family and my health and all the other important things in life. So #1, it all starts with awareness, understanding what your priorities even are. I would actually write this down. The #1 indicator of your priorities is how you spend your time. You can quantify your priorities based on the amount of time you spend on each one of those priorities. So I know we all say we're building our business for our family. The reality is, how much time are you actually spending with your family versus spending at work? So I sat back and I thought, what are the main pillars in my life that I want to always be improving on? And it came down to 4 things. 1 is my relationships with my wife, my relationships with my kids, my relationships with my parents, my brothers, my sister, my family, my in-laws, my friends, my team. All those different kinds of relationships fall into that category. The second thing is physical, right? So physically, how do I want to make sure that I'm treating my body like a temple, right? And making sure that in this meat suit that I've got, right, how am I taking care of it the best way I can to be the best vessel to live my life in, and making sure that I'm staying healthy, mobile, agile, and able to live a healthy and positive life. The third one is mental/spiritual, right? How am I personally developing in my mind? If you're religious, if you're more spiritual, if you like nature, anything in order to kind of sharpen the axe mentally and spiritually falls into that category. And the final pillar is the financial pillar, improving my economic situation and always moving the needle forward on that front, ensuring that we can continue to make more money, and the more money that you make, the more impact you can have, the more you can give, the more you can help, the more you can provide, the more positive impact you can make in the world, the more hospitals you can build and situations you can help in, and all those different kinds of things. So those are the 4 pillars. Now that I have awareness over those 4 pillars, I put goals in place of things that I want to achieve for each one of those pillars of my life. And I have, midterm goals, maybe 3 to 5 years out, and then I have 12-month goals, and then I abbreviate that into monthly goals and even weekly goals. And I'm going to share a tool with you that I use to track those weekly goals. It's my Legacy Weekly Activity Register. I'll upload it into like a Google Drive doc, and I'll put it in the show notes below, so that way you can access it, you can download it. I don't need email address or anything like that. That way it's just a great tool for you to be able to utilize in implementing in your life. So in that activity register, I take each one of those 4 pillars and I create 2 things I want to measure each week. And so it might be like, what are the 2 biggest needle movers in my health? Well, it's probably eating clean and exercising. And so I put that as one of the subject lines. and then I measure how many times I actually exercise in the course of 7 days. And maybe my goal is 4 times. If I exercise 5 times that week, then I get a +1 at the end of the category. If I only exercise 2 times, then I get a -2 in that category. Same thing with eating clean. So if I want to eat clean 5 days a week, and kind of the 80-20 rule, I give it a day and a half to 2 days of just kind of, being able to eat whatever I want, but I got to eat clean those 5 days, meaning, whatever that means for you. Maybe it's fasting 5 days. Maybe it's only eating salads those 5 days, or eating keto those 5 days, whatever that is. Sticking to that diet plan those 5 days. And maybe I hit 6 of them, or maybe I only hit 4 of them, right? But I have a +1 or -1 at the end of the day. Another thing, could be your spiritual side. Hey, I want to read for 30 minutes, or do personal development for 30 minutes every single day, or I want to practice gratitude every single day, or I want to pray every single day. You can quantitatively measure those things and the progress of doing those things by saying, hey, the goal is to do that 6 days a week or 7 days a week, and did you get all of those? And then at the end of the week, you get a +1 or -1 or plus or minus however many, or you zero out if you did hit that goal. And so I have that for date night with the family, and hours, evening time spent with the kids, and all sorts of different things in every single category of my life. So now I can quantitatively measure the progress that I'm making. If you don't measure it, you cannot manage it. So you got to be able to quantify it and put a metric to it, so that way you can measure it, and then you can manage that component of your life. And I don't do 3, 5 things in each category. I pick 2. Because it's so hard to hit on all of them. If you pick 2 for each one of those categories, you're looking at 8 things that you're paying attention to every single day of the week. And in order to take it even one step further, I have one extra line. So I actually have 8 and I have 9. This final line is kind of comes from the book, The One Thing. If I were constrained by time and I only got one thing done tomorrow, what would the one thing be that I could accomplish? And if I didn't do anything else, I could still say it was a successful day. And I write that in for each day of the week, usually the night before or 2 nights before. I have a pretty good indication of what the most important things are to do on that singular day. And if I only do that one thing, that's the one thing that I knock out first, and I'm able to check that box and feel good about the entire rest of the day if I did that one thing. So that's bullet point number 1. That's all about awareness and understanding what your priorities are. Number 2 is time blocking. This was a game changer. In fact, I just did a video about time blocking with a short story about how I got into this, and you can go check out that video. But in a nutshell, I block out time for each one of those 4 categories, those 4 pillars of my life. So I'll give you a quick run through of what a typical day looks like for me. I'll wake up at about 6 a.m., but from 6 to 8, it's all about family time with the kids, getting them ready for school, and me helping them out. From about 8 to 10 is usually personal time. That's me reading a book, getting a workout in, listening to a podcast, and then getting cleaned up and ready for the day. So I schedule about 2 hours then. And then I'm very diligently focused on business and work stuff from about 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. That's when I try to hammer out all my phone calls, my emails, my content creation, the economic side of things. And then from 3 o'clock on, that's when the kids get off of school and they start coming home and they have to go to their activities and all this other stuff. And from 3 o'clock to essentially 8 p.m. when I put them down to bed is family time. And that's when I try to just stay present. And by the way, I'm not perfect, right? I pick up the phone once in a while and I take a phone call and I send out messages and I'll find myself on social media and doing those things. And so it's not about being perfect. It's about being aware and prioritizing these things and being better with it rather than being perfect with it. And so from 3 to 8, I'm trying to focus on that stuff. And then once the kids are down, 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock, I'll either hang out with the wife or I'll just kind of veg out and watch a movie, or I'll hop back on my computer or on my phone and knock out a few more messages and emails and texts and that kind of thing. And then 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., sleep and do it all over again. And that's a typical day in the life of how I time block to be really focused on certain things at certain times of the day. Number 3 would be batching activities. And what I mean by batching activities is there's a certain amount of setup time to get in the mindset to sit down and film content, right? It's a certain setup time to sit down and underwrite deals, right? It takes a mental capacity to just get in the frame of mind to go and make prospecting calls or to do any activity that you got to be focused on. So in order to compress the miscellaneous time that's spent in setting up mentally for each of these different things, I consolidate and batch those activities. On Wednesdays is when I come out and I film all morning for about 3, 4, 5 hours every Wednesday, and I batch all the content. So that way, I don't need to drive to downtown to meet my team multiple days of the week. So it saves me time there. It saves me setup time in my head of what's the content we're going to create and this and that. And I already know, and I'm already in the frame of mind of answering questions and knocking out all these things all at one time a week, and then we create a month's worth of content that then gets dispersed over the course of the next 30 days. So think about the things in your life and in your business that have different setup times, and how can you batch those activities? Another thing that I batch is my phone calls and my Zoom meetings and my podcasts, right? I don't do those random times, random schedules throughout the entire week. I consolidate all phone calls to Tuesdays and Thursdays. So that way I can hammer out my Zoom calls, I can hammer out conference calls, and I batch those activities to get in the frame of mind of just knocking out and hammering out calls to investors, hammering out calls to sellers, talking to brokers, talking to the team, talking to partners, talking to vendors, talking to whoever. All of that happens only on Tuesdays and Thursdays. If you ask me, hey, let's hop on a call, can we coordinate something? It would end up being on either a Tuesday or a Thursday. Those are the only days that I take calls. Wednesdays are my content creation days. Mondays and Fridays, I don't schedule anything on Mondays because it's always a shitstorm and cluster of craziness that happens with emails and text messages and everything from the weekend. And Fridays, I just don't really want to work that hard. So I don't schedule anything for Fridays, and I minimize the amount of calls and meetings and all that stuff. Now, are there times that calls pop up on Fridays or calls pop up on Mondays? Yes, absolutely, that happens. But I'm very aware and very specific about not scheduling things whenever possible on those days and batching the activities as best I can. Number 4 is marrying activities up. Similar to batching activities, similar to time blocking for certain activities, I like to marry 2 activities at once. So I will go for a walk on the beach, or go for a run on the beach, or go for a bike ride through town, get my exercise in while I'm listening to a podcast and developing mentally. See how I'm taking those 2 activities and turning it into a singular time frame, and I'm able to marry those 2 things at once and be more efficient with that 45 minutes or an hour of time. You can take your kids for a jog at the beach, right? On Sunday mornings, we do a track workout with a bunch of friends, and we all bring our kids, and then the kids come and have a fun time. My little guy Hudson ran 1.5 miles with me on the track the one day. That does 2 things. Gets my workout in, the physical box gets checked, and then the relational box also gets checked, because now we're talking about the workout. Hey buddy, I'm so proud of you. High-fiving. He's wearing his tennis shoes instead of his flats that he always wears, and he gets his workout gear on. He gets all jazzed up. He's usually a collared, buttoned-up guy, and he's just really quirky and funny. And then he gets in the zone to do the workout stuff, and he wants to match me. Oh, Dad, you wearing your gray shorts? Okay, I'm gonna wear my gray shorts. And what color t-shirt are you? And it, again, checks 2 boxes at once and creates more things for us to talk about, more things for us to do together, more things for us to have fun with, and just kind of connect on. And so marrying those activities of how do I check the physical box and the family box, or check the physical box and the mental box, or I take business phone calls and I go for I walked 30,000 steps. The deal was falling apart. Had an absolute shitstorm last week, and I take phone calls while I'm walking up and down the street or walking up and down the beach, and I walked 30,000 steps. It's like 10 miles last week in a single day. I burned more calories, check the physical box and check the financial box at the same time. How can you marry up more activities and be more efficient with those hours of the day? So the fifth time hack is all about leverage. Some of the biggest business owners, most successful business owners that I know understand time leverage. We talk about leveraging other people's money in order to build more wealth. You can also leverage other people's time. You can create an opportunity for someone else to have a career with you or a job with you and improve their economic situation. You bringing value to them and understanding what they're really, really good at, putting them in the right seat, in the right spot, the right person in the right seat in your organization, right? I'm not good at editing videos, for instance, or doing film side of things. So I found someone who is amazing at doing that, who can do it faster than I can, who can do it more efficiently than I can, who can do it better than I can. And I hired somebody to do that role. And because of that, they can put out far more content than if I was trying to do it on my own. So instead of 1 + 1 = 2, actually when you bring the right team together, 1 + 1 = 3. And you can accomplish a lot more. You can leverage and scale time by understanding how to leverage other people's time and how to leverage your own time by prioritizing and focusing on the things that have the highest impact, the highest return on your time. So understanding what are the greatest uses of your time and focusing on those activities and then staffing out everything else to people who can do those other activities better, more effectively, more efficiently than you can is going to help you build a bigger business and have more success. So to recap this, number 1, got to create awareness and understand your priorities. Number 2, time block and focus. Uninterrupted focus on certain activities during that time. Number 3, batch activities. Stack those activities on certain days of the week, times of the day, in order to put all of that thought, all that concentration, all that setup into one time, so you're not duplicating the setup time and wasting the setup time multiple times throughout the week. Number 4, marry those activities. How can you do 2 things, check 2 boxes during that same 60-minute time frame? And finally, number 5, leverage. Leveraging your time, leveraging other people's time, so that way the whole is greater than the sum of the parts, and you can accomplish more as a team, more as an organization than any one person could as an individual. So implement these things in your life, in your business. It will transform you, it'll transform your relationships, it'll transform your income, it'll transform your health, it'll transform your mental and spiritual state as well. And you will see your business scale from 6 to 7 figures, 7 to 8 figures, 8 to 9 figures and beyond. So I hope this was helpful for you. Put your biggest takeaway in the comments below. And what I'm thinking is maybe I'll do a day in the life. If you guys want to see a day in the life of how I implement all of these different things in my business in order to run multiple 7-figure businesses and a 9-figure real estate portfolio, smash that like button, and the more likes that I get, the more likely it'll be that I go and put that video together for you. But again, put your comments below. If you have any other questions about this stuff, put it in the comments section. I'm happy to address those and create more content around any one of these topics or any questions that you might have about this. And if you know somebody else who would get some value out of this, somebody who's looking to create efficiencies in their life or scale their entrepreneurial endeavors, please share this video with them so that way they can get the same value out of it that you got. So appreciate you being here. Until next time, be your best.